Seahawks wanted to do.
What?
And look, man, for whatever reason, B.I. is embracing it.
It's stupid.
He said I was tired of dropping back anyway.
He said, I hate that shit. I don't like dropping back into coverage because he's better going forward because he runs a 4.5 and can actually get after the quarterback.
I think the other thing, though,
he can beat up right tackles
the other
all
thing
day.
is if you make the parallels between the Raiders and the Bengals defensive line, which is where Paul Gunther came from,
same,
right?
It's a mug gap type front.
They have big defensive ends. Like they're fast and they're explosive, but they're big body guys and they can slide inside as well. So
yeah,
having Mac and Bi on the edges, who are both kind of undersized, Mac can play it because he's just godly strong. He's a demigod.
He's a monster,
and he's fast, so he can make up for that. Bi, he's
outside contained.
He's not quite as strong.
It's easier to play left defensive end than right defensive end.
So I think he's going to struggle, man. I think he really is.
And
I think the fact that he can't drop back into coverage anymore is more of an indictment of him than anything else. And the fact is, I love Bi. Like, don't get me. I'm not trying to disrespect him. I love his story. I love his character. I love what he brings to the team. I'm happy he's with the team. But if he's our secondary pass rusher again, I think the Raiders are looking at another year of being towards the bottom of sacks for for a minute. When was the last time the Raiders were even in the top 10 in sacks?
Maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Well, when they had Burgess and Kelly and Warren Sapp?
Yeah. That might have been it.
And now Khalil Mack's just becoming our Derek Burgess?
Burgess really had 16 sacks in the season.
And then he had another 2 10-sack seasons after that.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss. And he was left for dead when he came over from Philadelphia.
He really was. But he had amazing acceleration.
He really did.
They say for defensive linemen, your get off.
And anytime you would get him, he'd start off as an 86, and then if your team started playing well, he'd rank up to an 89, 93. Yeah.
He started off as a 93.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. I don't know what Madden you're playing.
PS2 Madden.
Yeah, no, I think that was you customizing the rankings. That's what that sounds like. Yeah, it was. You probably made Warren. You probably made Warren Sapp a 97 again.
Hell no.
You made Michael Huff injury up. You put his injury at 90.
That's gross.
You gave Stuart Schweiger some more speed.
Nah, I gave him some more agility. When you mimic, the most max you can get for those training camp drills is 7 points. So you just add 7, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna just play with the numbers, and so his overall rating won't move, because if his overall rating doesn't move, it's not cheating. Yeah, I had fun as a kid sometimes.
So I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but we didn't really get into it fully. And since I'm waiting for Chris to call, let's just go ahead and jump into it. KB, what do you make of the rest of the Raiders' moves that they've made throughout free agency? I know we talked about some of the white skill players they signed, but they also signed Tank Carradine from the 49ers.
Perfect pick. I wanted the Raiders to draft him when he came out of college.
They signed Rashawn Melvin from the Colts, another 29-year-old.
He played really good.
And they signed Gilchrist from the Houston Texans,
he could play free safety, strong safety.
And they signed Tahir Whitehead from the Detroit Lions,
who's a good run stuff against our linebacker, but again, he runs a 4.7.
My whole take on those guys is
they also signed Emmanuel Lamir, who played with Paul Gunther, for the Bengals, and then he went to the Vikings to play for Mike Zimmer.
Man, all those guys.
He's an outside linebacker, bro.
Number one, they're all in their late 20s, except for Whitehead. I think he's 26.
But there's depth picks.
They're depth guys. They're solid guys who can play football, who know how to play football, who know how to be pros, but they're not game changers. They're not playmakers. That's what the
draft is for.
They're just solid players. And, yes, the Raiders need those guys, but at the same time,
you need depth too.
You can't really say that this team is so bad that you can't say it's bad. All right, well, I'm going to answer this. I'm sure this is Chris.
Fam, I'm going to need you to, not mess this up. It's in front of your face, Pete. I can't see.
You're a lot of tangents. Radio shows. Cameron, am I speaking to?
Pete, hear me this time.
Hey, what's good, Chris? We on this week.
Yeah, man. Really.
Yeah, man. So for those who don't know, Chris Simmons, a writer for Full Coverage, Raiders, also writes NBA. He's a closet Rams season ticket holder. Need to talk about.
Ain't no thing about mine.
He at the
it's
games.
the best chance to get season 10 as a, what other option do I have?
I feel you.
Get in where you at.
All right, so Chris, we're both Raider fans here. Raider fans, or we were.
Born in East
Yeah.
Oakland.
And
No,
since you are the McKenna sympathizer in the group of Fred covers,
Honestly, that mental.
us and other Raider fans who are skeptical of should we like these moves?
What is it interesting to move? So I understand make the Tahir Whitehead move and kind of pushing Bowman. Bowman is entering his 30 versus a guy 7 he could roll. Nobody expecting for Whitehead to all he's not getting to lose for the in Carolina Kuechly and turn into Kuechly. But expecting that no matter at least the next, you know exactly what you're going to get baseline. It's all up and down the things. Totally understand it. If I want to St. Johnson, you can get Melvin, who might at least offer a similar, maybe not same, maybe not for the same, not quite shifter, but it's red, purple, quite blue for a season at $1 million. Why wouldn't you? It gives you enough to say, okay, now we don't have to leap too high, draft Denzel Moore, who might turn out to be small, to play cornerback the way Jim McKenzie for you.
Or
now,
her, like the other Ohio corner we have on the. Let's talk about that.
Well, I think Conley's good, but the point I'm is just that you look at decisions that they've made in free agency, and to me, they're really trying to stay versatile without necessarily going absolute bottom barrel. Because we all remember those first 2 years of Kenzie were super duper
I don't
lean.
know.
Right,
I don't know. It's kind of similar.
No. In 2012, a player like Rashad Melvin was taking in favor. He's betting on himself, right? And 6.5 necessarily the market. Especially we can talk his over volumes of talent. We know that the guy can play. Whether or not he'll season, part of the reason why bounce on the difference. But each of them is like, I didn't pay him because we don't want to be the, and that's essentially what the Raiders did as well.
So let me ask you this: is your move of the free agent, and what's your move?
My favorite would probably be Melvin. I think the kid's good. I think he's together, and it's one of the situations where especially a guy came out of college, died. He didn't necessarily want to dance, but over time he's seen figuring it out. We'll see. I think he's got a chance, if nothing else, be at number 2. Because I had Darren Conley being, somewhere anywhere 20th to the 13th best corner.
Or number 3 if we take him 10.
He offers anything else than him. We'd look for a back. Conley is worse than we def for another cornerback. But he's the list. We haven't even had that.
And your least move.
I'm not probably most nation's least, but I definitely would have to see us here to if we're at the front of free agents.
Yeah.
I'm looking back and kind of making sense
and
of
it means to me, get that, but we don't need to talk about it. Go ahead.
I just think that it's hard to can't necessarily. I'm not in the locker room. You only know what's been written about what happened in week 3, depending on your personal takes. A color happened, or you think it changed. It seems to more than any. The player that Gruden is looking for, specifically on offense, don't want anybody who's kind of a fronter or kind of his own slack kind of a guy. Again, on Crabtree, we needed that. Hell, Derek was learning how to throw to NFL wide receivers, and thanks to three good years, we know he can do work right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I saw the last 2 seasons because it's not an isolated instance. Maybe twice hard thing to be in a place that he's, and we saw that. The Kansas City game where he the drive and it was just Crabtree was
but he also made this for us, and he gave us an edge as we were talking before.
For sure. Nobody. I don't think anybody who's a fan of the team or from the Bay Area, watching Bay Area ball in the test, been really not being him the best 1-2 I do that they're looking for kind of on a certain kind of precision isn't nothing. As a guy who I'm not buying in, just throw me and it'll be all right. And I'm not trying to make him out to be a diva. I know the guy, and by all accounts, from inside the locker room, people like him. But I think that, for example, with Jordy Nelson has been consistent over his precision. The guy in the right spot consistently, no matter what. They probably are about the same speed. Certainly, Nelson's bigger, but I think the goal is to have this guy consistently the spot. If the route is hot, he's got to get it. There's minimal chance of Crabtree thinking, "Oh, I got this guy. I'm gonna take a go route." Instead, this is the rule for which I'm for them playing, and I have to by this rule. And could have been coaching, but it seems like that's kind of what they've been making with regards to
let's hear this. So, basically, we're not gonna be able to do any of this free agency stuff until the season is over, right?
Yeah.
So, if for a reason the Raiders aren't successful, how does that change how you view this free agency?
I 2 things. If they're not successful, just as a baseline, if 12 wins, however much.
Let's just say playoffs.
Make the offs competitive. Win, maybe you don't, but you don't like door shut off because door slam on your face.
On the internet.
But if not successful, first person that gets the blame, John Gruden. And I don't know how much specifically this free agency period when you look how many defensive signings. I don't know how much what happens on defense is going to determine whether or not John Gruden has egg on his face. If we go out there and we look at the 2015 for we score points, but there's no record. John Gruden would have been able to duck a lot of the blowback. But I think if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Fortunately for the way that Reggie Medina he's played, most of them are easy outs, and I mean, being then Bruce Rim off the books. Jordy Nelson I think still has an out. Lynch would be off. The player we signed could be easy. So I don't think that off-season or firepower would somehow become a major or not a boondoggle rather down the line. Oh, damn, 2018 free agent.
That was amazing. That was cold.
Hey, but so let me ask you this though. Okay.
So as far as because they signed, whatever's last name is. Played like trash. He even when he was in, he wasn't really that good, but he managed to get deals with the Jets and Stin. But
survive.
Yeah, how do you? We know that Reggie McKenzie, when he's drafted defense, it hasn't really worked out well. But as far as just the first to name it, optimistic are you first to 4 rounds, and then they just back into the 5th round, the first 4 rounds.
I'm pretty optimistic, and I'll tell you why. In conjunction with a bunch of the trades for the draft, which inevitably is going to put down some of the players that can drop. I mean, whether that's how you mean internally, FTC Raiders having a debate over Roquan versus Tremaine Edwards. That's a great conversation to be having. Sitting there at 10, the clock. Ideal for the rest at Hurst, Denzel Ward. All it knows how it's going to shape out, but I think that there are maybe 6 or 7 guys who are going to be flown and within our range. To go ahead and have a guy who's going to start right away. We have a conversation on the group today. I don't think I'm not a big draft guy, but I will say this. I don't think the goal in the first round, even necessarily the second round, go in a rock star. But you want a guy who's starting your team for the next 8 years. A guy who you don't have a problem giving a second round to. You got to negotiate and figure out the right number. You know that you're completely second round.
That's rock star.
Like kind of a rock star. It's not.
You see, when we drafted him, that was you have to look for a team that will turn out to be that. I don't know. Who they say healthy and gets back on. But instead of going, why I'm Roquan Smith rather than Edmonds. We know he's going to get the next 8 years. He's going to get the maybe named for most of his talent. However, he's not going to have double-digit numbers. He's not going to ever be super. But he's going to have 3 picks and 4. Maybe not 4 is a high number for a guy like him, but maybe 2 sacks, and that's going to be the average per year. Now, Tremaine Edmonds, he could be a guy that only gets tackles, but say 10 sacks and 2 forced returns. Was a crazy athlete. He's only 18. To me,
6'4".
He's just like a stop, right? But Reggie and Gruden are in position to go to the best player doing it. However, that's why to White Science. I appreciate even Sharice Wright and Gilbert all do what they do very well.
So let me ask you this:
they're not that it's going to be a big star.
So my question for you is there an ending you see that you would like to see really ends with the draft?
And I think they can do either one. I think they'll be in a position to truly go. You got to do plays like this is the best player, we'll take him. But short of quarterback anyway. That the 2 ones are and defensive and potentially he's offline yet. But I think some combination or both of them will suffice in the middle. I think both help. But I think that spot, especially the weakest talent on I think is and the biggest glaring hole that makes any together is right. I think that's because bringing in more help in the draft and create, but to do it through free agency to free up some capital, because I do think that potentially the guys might turn out to be here. Understand why? What? So I think the most ammunition in the draft to have to worry about one.
Just like Mario Edwards, he said he might be technique, and I mean they need defense.
I think
they lost Audrey.
The thing is, you can't dibble. That's the point I've been making signings. These guys, they're not rock stars. They're dependable. They don't miss games. I mean, Jordan gets squeezed, right? I think super dependable players. They find other players that was and we're just set. Even if we did sign him, might be right. So if you're still gonna have that other guy, and not find somebody for half to most of the same thing, is going to augment play. So.
Hopefully Reggie McKenzie to take the concept. Just draft the linebacker later rounds if guys are gonna know the good.
Yeah, no, Jesus, no. What he absolutely do is not trade back. The trade game. It's one of those why it doesn't matter which one we get until we'll come to ever new flat talent. But the notion, we're here at 10, we'll go back to 22. No, we can't. That will be the